Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I've had this one for a bit. I didn't want to rush and make a video, but I also don't really need 20 minutes to cover it, so here's a quick take that took a while to get to. But before we get into that, don't forget to check this great discount for it. You can find the link in both the video description and the top comment below. Alright, enough talk, let's get right into it.
To get things started, let's hear from our first reviewer.
This reviewer found the initial setup of this all-in-one printer to be exceptionally smooth on their Mac, calling it the fastest and easiest installation they had ever experienced. All features, from scanning to photo and CD printing, worked perfectly right away, and the print quality was described as amazing, a significant leap forward from their previous device. Our client stresses, however, that this is a complex machine, and that many common complaints seem to stem from not consulting the manual. They point out that issues like printing on cardstock or printing in grayscale with an empty color cartridge are easily resolved by using the correct settings detailed in the instructions. Similarly, achieving the best photo quality requires using the right paper, otherwise the results can be messy. A strong piece of advice was to stick with the manufacturer's own ink, as the device's performance is tied to its proprietary technology. On the connectivity front, the experience was less positive. This client found the wireless networking to be unreliable and strongly recommends a wired Ethernet connection for stable performance. While the device has some great features, it does have its drawbacks, including a small paper capacity and an incomplete web interface. The biggest disappointment, however, came when a part for two-sided printing arrived broken. The interaction with customer support was frustrating, with a generic response leading our reviewer to simply purchase the replacement part on their own rather than deal with a cumbersome return process. Finally, they suggest a weekly test print to prevent printheads from clogging, noting that this device requires regular care to maintain its high performance.
Awesome! Let's hear what our next reviewer has to share about their experience.
This reviewer wanted to share their initial experience with this all-in-one printer, starting with a minor shipping hiccup. It arrived in its original box, which was a bit of a security concern as it was clearly labeled and left outside. Luckily, the delivery person was considerate enough to provide a heads-up. However, the packaging itself was effective, as the printer was undamaged. Setting it up was surprisingly easy, even without referring to the included instructions. The large touchscreen made connecting to Wi-Fi for wireless printing from various devices a breeze. The reviewer did encounter a snag when trying to install the software from the provided CD. It kept throwing an error during the download process, which was frustrating and costed a star. Fortunately, they were able to find and download the necessary drivers directly from the manufacturer's website, and the Mac's built-in software handles the scanner without extra downloads. One significant advantage that our reviewer appreciated is the enclosed paper tray, protecting the paper from dust and pet hair. This was a welcome change from their previous printer, where open paper storage led to waste. Another notable feature is the individual ink cartridges. Unlike their old printer with a single color cartridge, this one has separate cartridges for each color, plus dedicated black inks for photos and text. This means they can replace only the depleted color without wasting the remaining ink in other colors. Overall, this client found the printer easy to set up and intuitive to use. Wireless printing worked seamlessly from their phones and MacBooks. Based on these initial impressions, they highly recommend it, though the long-term durability and ink usage remain to be seen.
Alright, let's find out what our next reviewer has to share.
This reviewer initially loved this all-in-one printer. They bought it some time ago and were really impressed with how easy it was to set up and use, even though they don't consider themselves particularly tech-savvy. The instructions were clear, and everything worked perfectly at first, leading our reviewer to write a very positive review. However, things took a turn for the worse when it was time to replace the ink cartridges a few months later. This client had bought extra cartridges in anticipation of needing them, but when they tried to install the new black ink, the printer kept displaying an error message saying it didn't recognize the cartridge. They tried a second new cartridge, but the same problem persisted, despite them being the correct type for the machine. Frustrated, they contacted the manufacturer's customer service. A representative walked them through a troubleshooting process, but it didn't solve the issue. They were asked to send a picture of the printer screen and given a reference number. After waiting several weeks with no response, they called again. This client was then told the problem was resolved when it wasn't, and were put through the same ineffective process. As a result, this user ended up borrowing a neighbor's printer. They contacted the retailer to return the printer.
That's it for this one. If you found this helpful, tap that like button and subscribe for more. Got thoughts? Questions? Let's talk in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.